welcome to the podcast, Ainslie.
Well, great to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so I was really excited to have you on here because I've had you on the other podcast. So before we get started, for just the listeners, can you share a bit about your background and how you found out that you had a connection intuitively?
Yes, yeah. Um, uh, Boy, where to begin? Um, yeah, I grew up in Scotland. Looking back, this is the funny thing that for the longest time, I was saying, I had no psychic experiences or anything growing up. It's like you hear people saying, "Oh, yeah, I kept seeing people" or whatever. I, and I was going, "No, I didn't have anything like that." Then, looking back on my life, I realized, yeah, all these weird things that had happened were signs of having some sort of psychic ability, and it seemed to be, you know, it became something like big part of my life. I always seemed to be running into psychics or people who wanted to talk about spiritual things, even at a time when I had no belief in anything beyond the physical plane. But I finally connected. It took a long time. Spirit world was trying to get my attention for a long time, trying to get me to work with them, and finally they got my attention. And I just discovered that I had an ability to pick up information from spirit from the other side, which, like any talent, it's a past life ability and can be developed, like music or art or whatever. So that was really I got started. I had a couple of epiphanies, things that happened when I was going through like a big change in my life, and they just blew things wide open for me. It was like this, awareness of there being this whole other world out there. What we're seeing here on the physical plane is just the tip of the iceberg, and
Hmm.
there's so much more to who we are and what we're doing here. And that sort of got me into doing the work that I do, which is as a psychic. Broadly speaking, it's about helping people to find their life purpose and getting rid of any past life related blocks that
Hmm.
prevent you from really being all that you can be. And that was one of the biggest things for me when I started getting into this work, was that suddenly everything seemed to be about past lives. And um, to the point where now I'm almost saying that I don't think there's anything about we humans that isn't past life related. It's
Hmm.
you really can't understand who you are if you don't know where you've been.
Hmm.
And our personalities are formed over many lifetimes and so on, and all the, like I was saying, talents, past life abilities, all sorts of things that we draw in from other lives. Without, if you don't look at who you were, I mean, you really can't understand totally who you are. It's a sort of missing link, I think, for a lot of therapies even. um, and then doing the work that I've been doing, it's now been, I guess, almost 25 years that I've been reading people and looking at past lives. And one of the things that really blows me away is just how much the soul can affect the body. The
Hmm.
the soul is unable to separate mind, body, and spirit. So can't, at least not without our help, and not very easily. And so a lot of stuff gets carried in the body. Trauma from past lives gets carried into this life. Um, Very simple examples are, often people with migraines have head trauma in a past life.
Hmm.
Um, you can have, oh gosh, it could be breathing issues from tuberculosis or pneumonia in a past life. Maybe colds go to your chest, it creates an area of weakness. Um, Throat chakra issues, self-expression, thyroid issues can be all related to self-expression and persecution in past lives, maybe judgment. Um, so things get held in the body. Um, what I think might interest you and your listeners would be that fertility issues, or a lot of fertility issues, seem to be spiritual in nature, and pretty much all comes down to having had some terrible experience in a past life around childbirth or whatever, and then the soul feeling, well, it's not safe,
Hmm.
so it is able to exert enough power over the body to prevent. conception. Because it's really trying to prevent the death of the mind, body, and spirit. Of course, past is not prologue, and that's one of the things you have to kind of remind the soul that just because this happened hundreds of years ago, you died in childbirth or whatever, it doesn't mean it's going to happen again. And that is the sort of, people think the soul has all the answers, somehow it's sort of like all knowing. It isn't, because if it were, it wouldn't bother coming here to the physical plane. Being here with us would be no growth, nothing to do. Your soul's growing all the time, and it's learning. And one thing that we can do is help to remind the soul that something is in a past life. The problem here is that if you're an old soul, you've had many lifetimes behind you, but your soul itself doesn't die between lives. It's conscious throughout. So I always think of it as the soul being on life number 1, while the rest of you is on life 120 or something. And so the soul holds on to these memories as if there's something that happened last week rather than 500 years ago. And so simply by airing whatever happened in a past life, just literally finding whatever traumatic event has stuck with the soul, just reminding it seems to be enough. It's a terribly simple process when it comes down to it. It's a little hard to find the details, and you have to be able to convince the soul that it is a past life. You can't just throw any old stuff out there. It has to be something where it resonates and goes, oh right, okay, I remember, and then it can put it to bed and let it go. I realize for a lot of people listening to this, they probably think this is absolutely crazy stuff, but it's just, I find it utterly fascinating. I'm learning more and more all the time about how this works. And like I was saying earlier, I really think there's nothing about us, about humans, that doesn't connect in some way to a past life. And when it comes to babies as well, that's a wonderful thing. We all come into this world like a fully programmed computer. We all have all the software and stuff. It's kind of like we come fully loaded. I said in one of my books that I believe that people who think that babies are born as blank slates have obviously never met one. Because I mean, you know what it's like. I mean, if you have, especially if you can compare two babies, and you can see right away the difference.
They have a personality.
Oh, it's totally
immediately.
Yeah,
I remember with both of them, I could recognize the personality now, right from the minute one, not even day one, minute one.
yeah, absolutely. I actually read my two kids within an hour of them being born, and
oh wow.
They're diametric opposites. I mean, like they're just like so different. One's a total extrovert, one's a total introvert, and I mean like it's just sort of extremes. But I did little readings, and it was really fascinating over the years. They're now 20 and 21, and seeing them develop into the people that you could predict from just what they had brought into the world. You come in with a complete personality, which is what I talk about in several of my books. And I talk about a lot how you have these soul types, and you create a personality based on a combination of these sort of archetypes, and that really they're traits and behaviors that you've learned in previous lifetimes, and then you just are able to tap into them in this. But when I'm working with people, I do one-on-one readings pretty much every day. And often I'll look at people's kids and see what they're all about, and that can be utterly fascinating. You can get a strong sense of what somebody's here to do, just based on their personality. Who you are is why you're here, and that can be really fascinating to see in children. I've been working with people long enough to see their kids growing up and growing into the person again. That could be sort of predicted broadly, it's not sort of like tight, like, looking at a 6-month-old and say, oh, you're going to be a bank teller when you grow up. It's like,
right, because there's free will, and there's probably a little wiggle room.
There's wiggle room,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you know, but what you might say is, you know, you can look at somebody and say, well, you know, you're a creator soul type, and you've got this, that, and the next thing. So probably you'd be very happy in a, you know, I don't know, in the theater or in the arts
Right.
or something, and you can start narrowing it down there. Maybe that person's got the educator in their soul types, and maybe they'd be a good teacher, art teacher, you know. So it's
Mhm.
just you can put it together like that. It's a pretty accurate way of determining who people are. And there's also other elements to the life plan that I would look at with somebody.
And you were able to connect with your kids right before they were born.
Well, I read them about an hour after they were born.
Oh, an hour.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, they
okay,
were just
got
a
it.
little
Oh, I thought it
tiny,
was right
tiny.
before. I
Yeah,
see.
no,
I
just
see.
right after. Yeah, it was like, you
Oh,
know, just they were still in the, you know, the room. It's just, you know, they're
yeah,
freshly born, and I guess it was pretty much the first time I picked them up,
yeah.
and and yes, it was very interesting, you know, to be able to predict some of the challenges that there would be as well. Um, I mean, I saw that, for example, that my youngest um, has a little bit of a problem. He showed up right away, you know, within an hour. That this kid does not like to be told what to do or forced to do anything. The major resistance to that. That's why I put in my first book that some babies turn diaper changing into a martial art. Just thinking,
Yes. Oh my
just
God.
thinking of my child
Yeah.
there. But you know, and there'd be times when, you know, I'd be sort of like on the floor like a professional wrestler with this fighting and you know, trying to get a diaper on
Yeah.
and getting frustrated, but then going, well, heck, if anybody knows why this is happening, it's me. I mean, I've looked at the past life. Of course he doesn't like being put on his back and made to feel vulnerable.
Right.
When you see the past life that he experienced, in the moment, sometimes it's hard to sort of you know,
Yeah, you have to be
kind of go
super
there, but
conscious.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. My oldest is something quite curious that when I read him, I was going, oh my gosh, this is about as close to somebody who's right brain, left brain as you can get. I mean, it
Right.
really was an interesting little thing to read because I don't see it very often. And it was kind of like, gosh, is this, you know, is this person going to grow up to become an academic or an artist?
Right.
And it, the answer is both. He's a scientist who does art
Oh, that's
on the
amazing.
side, you know, so it
Yeah.
made it work. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's really fascinating. As you were talking, I was thinking about how, we have the clock is such a great depiction because you can see the hour clock going really slow, and then you have the second clock, and we have these holograms in our life, like everything reflects everything. So we can
Hmm.
see the universe just in real life. And I think about waking up and going to sleep, and then waking up again, you kind of feel new. It's kind of a new day.
Renewed. Yeah. Hmm.
Similar to reincarnation, but a much smaller scale.
Right. Yes. I mean, I think there's you know, there are a lot of analogies there, you know, when you think about the changing of the seasons, or you know,
Hmm.
everything dying at the end of the year and then,
Yeah.
you know, being revitalized the next year. Yeah, reincarnation is a fascinating topic. um, there's so much, I think, misunderstanding.
Hmm.
You know, people thinking, you know, of everything from, you know, you're going to come back as a cockroach if you do something bad, or you're being
Right.
punished in this life, or whatever. It doesn't work like that. Um, yeah.
Right, because that's a man-made
Yes,
mentality. That's a
that's
man-made
right.
belief.
That's right. It's just,
Yeah.
you know, something that I think, yeah, we want to think. So we impose that. We project our own fears and issues
Yeah.
so often. Um, yeah, so you know, reincarnation. Once you understand that, I think it's, well, to me, then everything slots into place.
Hmm.
You know, for example, as the soul ages, so you come into this world. You know, if you're going to go from a young soul to an old soul, you're probably looking at a span of 5 or 6 thousand years. I mean, it's really, if everyone's different, but you know, something along those lines. And yeah, so you'd be, you know, you've been coming back and forth to the physical plane for you know, a long time, getting experience. And so what it does is I always talk about the soul's journey being one that takes it from a place of me to we.
Hmm.
It's really learning that we're all connected and that we're
Hmm.
all one. And so and it can be considered to be a journey from fear to love.
Oh, yeah.
And it's your soul. Well, every soul is looking for love. I mean, you're looking to experience love, to give and receive, to open your heart chakra. There are very few people, very few souls that come into the world not seeking love. It does happen sometimes for different reasons. You'll get somebody who just wants to come in, pretty much be a hermit, and they have no problem with it. If they have a problem with it, then it's clearly something's not meant to happen.
Right.
But when it's like, somebody, I've only met 2 people who are not meant to be in a relationship, in my work anyway. I mean, how it reflects in the general population, I don't know, but I wouldn't think it would be that many. Most people are looking for that intimacy and a deeper connection with other humans, which gets easier as your soul gets older, just with the experience and learning that we're all connected. As the older the soul gets, the less it perceives differences. Younger souls see huge differences between genders, for example, skin color, religion, all of that sort of thing. The older the soul gets, the more it's just, well, you've been in every permutation. It's just a feeling of like, yeah, we're all in it together.
Yeah.
You might be in a different part of the world, different skin color, whatever, but we're all souls beneath the surface. And
Right.
that's a really big thing of what the soul's trying to learn. I mean, along the way, what it does in sort of practical terms, it takes the soul from perhaps being more sort of fundamentalist when it comes to their beliefs, very much more sort of strict religion, when the soul's younger, moving into spirituality more as the soul ages. Older souls do tend to, it's a generalization, but they do tend to more fit into that spiritual, not so much religious category.
They could see things with a bigger picture without label.
Absolutely. Yeah. The dogma, religious dogma doesn't really speak to older souls. It's like, it's all, but it works for younger souls. I mean, they want to be told what to do and, given this, code of conduct or whatever. Old souls, you've learned all these things on your own. You don't need to be told. But there is a search for spirituality, a search for something, some deeper meaning. That God-shaped hole or whatever, that's sort of spirit-shaped hole, I guess. I'd consider it. Most people are seeking that, and also really seeking connection. One of the ways that past lives can affect us is that perhaps you die alone in a past life. In this life, you really need to be with people. The tendency will be, because of the experience, to isolate or become a bit of a loner or internalize stuff and not reach out to others. So it can actually be very, very healing for somebody if you do tend to slip into that, to make sure you have friends, community, people to groups to belong to. The more you do that, and the more the soul finds it can belong without getting killed or whatever happened in past life, then the more healing it becomes.
Right.
But yeah, there's
realizes.
And reincarnation it just shows up all over the place. We live in a younger soul influenced world. I think of younger soul energy. I mean, it's sort of like caricaturish, but Fox News would be very young soul. It's all fear-based, keeping people scared
or
of whatever.
News in general.
Yeah, well, the news can do that.
It's all fear.
It really, if it bleeds, it leads, and it's like, so, yeah. Right. Where was I going with that?
So you were saying young soul.
Yeah, that sort of young soul energy. It's just it's hard for old souls to be a part of that. You come in as a gentle old soul. You just want to get on with your stuff, and you have this harshness, this unkindness. It's like a pervasive narcissism, throughout government and kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
And it's very hard for old souls to survive or thrive, I guess, in that sort of atmosphere. You really need to find your own people, learn to follow your own path.
And that there's a better way. That there's a better way things can be. It would be nice if people could just really spend their energy creatively and just
I know. And imagine, of all the effort and all the money that's
Yeah.
spent on blowing people up, if that was
Yeah.
used
People could just enjoy
to
and
help.
live
Yes,
and
right.
create.
Put that money into healthcare or something,
Yeah.
yeah. The spirit guides I work with, they often say the world was never meant to be this way,
Hmm.
and it won't always be. It will, as as more and more old soul energy comes into the world,
Yeah.
things will change. But you know, things were never meant to be the way they are. We were meant to,
Yeah.
ideally, as humans, we're meant to interact a lot more with each other and support one another.
Hmm.
That's the thing. What is so hard about that?
Yeah.
Just
Totally.
imagine if we were really just all, uplifting each other and
Yeah.
helping one another to really be all that we can be and experience life. But we get so wrapped up in the petty nonsense and
Yeah.
so on. This the illusion, just being blocked from really what's important.
So
What's
now, I have a question because I know infertility is on the rise. I don't like using the word infertility because I don't think that a lot of times it's used correctly because I do
uh,
believe a lot of people that are called infertile are actually fertile, but they just have to tweak a couple of things
yeah.
and deal with certain harmony, create more harmony in their bodies, their spirits. But is there something that has to do with these old souls that want to come in that are waiting for the right time?
Yes, there is something. What you hear people talking about indigo children. My spirit guides don't use the term, but I mean,
Hmm.
there's something about these um, more connected, more spiritually connected, older soul
Right.
children that are coming into the world. It's a little bit of a rescue mission, that we can't go on like we're doing. We're wrecking
Hmm.
the planet, and it really is becoming unsustainable for so many people. And we've got sort of major challenges ahead, and we cannot keep going.
Yeah.
Putting off action on climate or whatever it is,
Right.
because we don't believe it or
I
or,
mean, you
or
can't,
whatever.
the plastics and yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So
those are things that are influencing fertility as well. The plastics and the
oh
toxins.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I mean, you've got, I mean, so many sort of environmental issues playing into it, on top of all the spiritual stuff that I was touching on. And I, I've, I, I've helped several women to get pregnant. My assistant told me once I need to find a better way to express that, but I've helped several women get pregnant through past life work.
Hmm.
Is what I was meaning, but by that. Um, and it was really just a question of finding the source of the trauma in a
Hmm.
past life. Something had to have happened. This is assuming that there's no physiological reason. Can I give you the examples, or a couple
Yeah,
of examples here?
absolutely. Yeah.
So one was a woman. I talk about this in my second book, in the Transformation. Um, she had come to me. She was 35. She'd been told when she was 16 that she had the hormones of a menopausal woman, and that she would never have
16. Wow.
16. Yeah. She was told, you're never going to have a child. So she got to 35 and was going, I'd love to have a baby. And she had, just at the time I talked to her, she'd gone to a fertility doctor who said, it's not going to happen. There's just nothing going on there. And so I have these spirit guides I'm working with, and they don't do this very often, but sometimes they will make a promise that makes me go, oh my God, I hope you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
They said so the spirit guides say to her, if you do the past life work, you'll be pregnant within 3 weeks. And I'm going, well, I'm saying to them, good God, I mean, this is like,
That's a promise.
God, it's a real promise. And I'm kind of going, am I supposed to share this? And they're going, yeah, tell her. So, I mean, and one thing I have found about past life work is your belief doesn't really figure too much into it. It doesn't matter as long as the soul gets it. It doesn't matter
Hmm.
whether you believe in reincarnation or whatever. It's just, but you'll get the healing. So, okay, so where was I? Uh, so she was told, the spirit guide said, yeah, you'll be pregnant within 3 weeks, and it's just a matter of finding out what happened in the past life. No other action required. So I found that she had past life. I think it was in China. I can't remember now, but she was a young girl who got pregnant, being thrown out of a place that she worked in, and she ended up giving birth beside a river alone, and dying in childbirth. I think the baby died as well, and that can create a past life issue around loss as well. So what was happening was that her soul was not letting conception happen. It was just going, we were shutting down a whole system here. Your soul has that amount of power, which is really, fascinating, that it's just going, we are not going to let this happen this time. We'll control this. And well, she called me like a little while later, and a few weeks later, she said she got pregnant 2 weeks after we spoke.
Wow.
And she knew the day after, and she was absolutely convinced, and she was convinced it was a girl as well. She said, she described that her husband thought she'd completely taken leave of her senses. She's kind of like, next day she's going, right, we're going to have a girl, and he's thinking, oh my God, she's gone insane. She's going to stop painting everything pink, and it's like, what's going on here? And sure enough, I mean, it turned out she was pregnant, but before it was even confirmed, I think she said she went for I think it was like a Christmas Eve dinner or something, and her grandmother, she said to her grandmother, I'm not particularly hungry, and she said, oh, don't worry, it's just a baby. And she went, I haven't told anyone about this. And the grandma said, no, but you came to me in a dream a couple of nights ago and told me you were having a little girl.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah, I know, isn't that cool?
That's amazing.
Yeah, 9 months later, so a little baby girl, and all good. It was heartwarming too, because as she pointed out, she was the first one in the family to have a grandchild, and it was a really big thing, not just for her and for her husband, but for the rest of the family as well.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's incredible.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, so we could literally hold blockages in our body. I always say, like, I always kind of feel that it really all starts with the spirit and then it manifests. So sometimes we try to control it from the physical, but it actually starts,
Yes,
the
but it's
core
actually a
is like,
spiritual
yeah,
thing. You're right, absolutely. And the principle here is that the soul just cannot separate mind, body, and spirit. It sees those three parts as this whole bundle, and that's why you can get depressed, and you can get physically ill from being depressed, or you can get physically ill and become depressed, or whatever. You can have spiritual malaise, and that will come across, then become a mental issue, and so on. It's the soul is just unable to separate those three parts out very easily. Yes. So what affects one will generally affect the others as
yeah.
well. And you can come in and you think, oh, this is all like a mental issue, but it could be a physical issue as well, or vice versa, or whatever. So yeah.
And have you ever connected with the spirits that are trying to come through, but waiting for
Yeah.
alignment before they're able to come through with the couple?
Yes. That's an interesting one. You will often get a soul on the other side is, we all do this. We between lives, we process the life that we had on the astral plane. We go over there, we figure out what we still need to learn, and so on. Then we plan for the upcoming life, and then it's a little bit like the soul is kind of like looking at life on Earth, looking down and going, there's a baby going to be born in I don't know what, Morocco, like in a couple of weeks. These are souls that I've known before. The parents, we've got something to work out. It would also be a great opportunity. The mother's an artist, and as a soul, I want to learn to develop some skills there. So it'd be useful coming in. All these choices that soul's making, it's about, choosing parents is like something that the soul does. That always surprises people. Like when I tell them, well, you chose your parents and they chose you, because they go, what the hell was I thinking? But there's reasons for that. So your soul is making all these choices that it's wants to make sure that it's getting the lessons that it wants to get. If I could take a quick tangent and say why so many old souls end up in dysfunctional families,
Mm-hmm.
is that you have these fears that are latent sometimes. It could be a
Mm-hmm.
fear around rejection or betrayal or something. Let's say it's betrayal. You were betrayed in a past life, and it would be a betrayal of expectations. So maybe you're betrayed in a court of law, but it radically affects your life plan. And then what the soul does is it goes, okay, I'm getting to be an old soul. I don't want to keep coming back here all the time and forever. So we need to trigger some of these things to be worked on. So coming into a family where where they let you down, parents let you down,
Mm-hmm.
or not going to be there for you, or they're distracted, or there's alcoholism or something, that can actually be a way to trigger the fear to bring it to the surface so that it can be worked on
Mm-hmm.
and healed.
Right. So
If you were a
even
younger
things.
soul, it doesn't matter. It's like you've got all this time on your hands, but you're up against the clock when you get to be older. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, no, no. So basically, things that come up that we think are challenges, and we're like, "Why is this happening to me?" It's actually an opportunity that the soul wants to work through.
Yes, absolutely. That's one thing about the soul. It has no self-pity. The
Mm-hmm.
soul has no self-pity. And so it looks at any challenge in your life and just simply thinks, okay, we got a problem here. How do we transcend it?
Mm-hmm.
It's always going to, I hate to use the old cliche, but it is making lemonade out of lemons. I'll
Right.
always try to turn things around, fix them. So that's one of the major choices, is to, all the life choices, to make sure that you do get the chance to work through these things. Not everybody's doing that in every life, of course, and some where you don't need to, but in the main, what I would say is, if you look for patterns in your life, they'll tell you what you're working on.
Mm-hmm.
If you, I don't know, if you always seem to, run into I don't know, don't seem to
Certain
be getting
relationships.
rejected in
Yeah.
relationships, yes, or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
as a fear of rejection. Say, yeah, absolutely. You can see the patterns, and they will tell you what you need to heal.
And so for people going through fertility challenges, because, obviously that's a whole thing. They want so badly to have children, and it's not happening. But they feel, see, I always feel like when you have that urge, you're getting tapped on the shoulder like a spirit, because
Yeah.
something wants to come through you, but it's just a matter of aligning somehow or figuring out a way to make it happen. But if people are going through that, and obviously not everybody can get a reading with you because you're busy. I know that. I
Right.
actually had a reading with Ainsley. It was incredible. And what I liked about it, on a little tangent, is that you would have moments where you're listening to your spirits, your spirit guides,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
you're very gentle with them and very kind. Like, you receive very respectful. Okay, thank you, thank
Hmm.
you. It was like a
Oh,
really
interesting.
interesting,
Yeah.
yeah, kind
Ah,
of
yeah.
communication that I would feel. But yeah, so if they want to connect, and I believe, like you believe, that we all have it. We all have this incredible ability to connect with spirit, with our guides. But for people who want to do that, how can they start?
Uh, Starting to develop a relationship with your spirit guides always begins with meditation.
Hmm.
That there's no getting away from it. I think there's um, any spiritual practice will tell you that you need to alter your brain waves or whatever. Meditation is, there's a reason that it seems to show up in every spiritual practice,
Hmm.
because it really it's so hard to connect with the spirit world when you've got like any kind of chaos going on in your head, or even in the environment around you. So I always say the first thing really is to get a tranquil environment, even if you can just find a little corner here.
Hmm.
Or I mean, there's been times maybe I'm traveling or whatever, um, I might pop into a church and just there's a little quiet corner somewhere.
Hmm.
um, or really anywhere, you know, if you've got a little corner in your home and you can maybe set up a little vision board or a little altar or whatever, all of these things help. A little bit of focus, and getting into a regular habit of meditation, even if it's just 10 minutes.
Hmm.
It doesn't have to be huge. You know, a little is better than nothing at all. And it's, as anybody who meditates knows, it's a learned skill. It gets easier, you know, in
Exactly.
time. You know, one of the things that I found, or a lot of people I worked with have found very helpful, because a lot of us, you know, we find it really hard to sort of calm the monkey mind,
Yeah.
and you know, we're thinking all the time. You know,
Yeah.
one thing that the spirit guides suggest, is, if you haven't meditated and you think, oh, I just can't do it, it seems so hard, do just 2 minutes twice a day,
Hmm.
no more. Don't,
I say
even
the
if you
same
think
thing. That's
you
so
do, yeah,
funny. Yeah.
yeah, great. Even if you think you could do more, don't do
Mhm.
it. You're trying to get into a routine, and then sort of just up it by two minutes every couple of weeks.
That's right.
They come up with a little formula, which is something like 2 times 2 plus 2, or whatever. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, so 2 minutes twice a day, upping it by 2 minutes every 2 weeks. It's something along whatever that equation is.
Yeah.
But that can get you into it very easily. You know, very quickly you're up to 20 minutes, and you know, generally, you know, we live busy lives. It's one of my clients said, you know, if I was to do everything that I'm supposed to do, you know, people tell you should be doing, I'd be, you know, I'd have so much time every day working on, I'm doing my yoga, doing my meditation, doing this, that, and the next thing. There'd be no time for work or family or
Hmm.
anything, you know. It's like, so sometimes 20 minutes, you know, it's just a really good time for meditation. You know, it doesn't always have to be long, although there's, if you've got a lot of stress in your life, maybe you want to do a lot longer, but at least if you're getting something every day, that's going to be useful.
Yeah. And it's
And then
interesting.
I think one other thing, if I could just mention this, that
Sure.
um, putting out requests to the spirit world, get into the habit of dialoguing, discussing things with them, even if you initially it feels crazy. I mean, the first time I ever spoke to the spirit world, I'm kind of like sitting there going, "This seems really weird, but are you there?" You know, and it's like, just trust that they are there. Put your prayers out and ask for their help, and you know that develop just a communication back and forth
It
with them.
really works. It really does. And
Yeah.
I will say, because like even doing the few minutes a day, when you were talking about how a lot of people, their worry is that they're not going to have enough time. But when you meditate, don't you feel you're able to bend time almost? Like it
Yes.
shifts, right?
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it makes you have
It
more
never
time.
feels like, yes, it does actually make you feel it. Yeah, absolutely. I totally know what you mean. Yeah. And I've never meditated and felt like, oh, that was a waste of time, or you know, oh
Yeah.
God, that really ate into the day. It's like it becomes an essential
Yeah.
part of what you do. Yeah.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I think also I heard a saying that prayer is talking, meditation is listening. When you're allowing yourself to get those downloads. And I also started to talk to my spirit guides. I don't, it's weird because I don't, like, it's not like I hear them talking to me, but I feel it, or I get downloads or knowing. And I think
Hmm.
everybody's different, right? Some people are more visual,
Right.
some people are more audio.
Yeah.
Everybody has a different way or language that their
Hmm.
soul relates with. And some people all of the above. And sometimes, so crazy, I feel like I'm literally reaching for something and something's grabbing my hand and moving it somewhere else. And I
Mm.
realize, oh my God, I almost like made a mistake or did something like that would have been,
Yeah.
I don't know, I can't think of an exact example, but like even if like I had a fire on or something, it's like something moved my hand
Yeah.
and then my attention went there. It wasn't the other way around. And I was like, that's my spirit guides, like just looking out for
Oh,
me.
definitely.
Yeah.
You know, it's their job. It's what they're here to do. You know, to support and protect you, and you know, and you can really develop a very strong connection. You know, we all have the potential to do that. We just, most of us don't ever think to do it. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't, for example, I wouldn't think about you know, coming on here and talking to you, or you know, working with a client without bringing spirit guides in, you know,
Mhm.
formally, and inviting them in, asking them for their support and so on. These days, it wouldn't even, such an automatic thing. It's just it's just what I do. And it does also have the added benefit of making you feel like you're never alone. I don't mean in a bad way, like somebody looking over your shoulder or anything.
Right,
it's just
watching you.
feeling like, but there's always this support.
Yeah, totally. There's always, and it's very subtle.
My spirit guides usually cut me off around 6 p.m. Like 6 or 7 p.m. It's like, you're done for the day. But like last night, I was working on a painting. I paint in my spare time, a little spare time.
He's amazing, you guys. We're gonna have to put your website on the links, but yeah, continue.
Right. Thank you. Yeah, and I just had a question. I was thinking, God, should I do this or should I do that? I go, okay, just bring spirit guides in. It's just they I'm going kind of, this is like 11 o'clock, and like I say, they usually cut me off a lot sooner. They just go, no, you need to get your rest. Don't be full on all the time. So pretty much they've trained me that, I'm not going to be connecting with them during the evening. But yeah, they were there. I go, what do I do about this? Which way should I go? And they give me a little bit of painting advice, and it's great, that's to have them there. It's like a hotline that's kind of always available.
Yeah.
Also, there's one thing you probably noticed as well. If you take 2 questions and you put them out to the spirit world, almost like immediately you may go, oh, I wonder why I even bothered to ask that. The answer is so obvious. And what people don't realize is that little bit of clarity you got in that moment is the spirit world giving you an answer.
Totally. Yeah. No, I know exactly what you mean. It's so
right,
interesting.
Yeah.
And really, it comes down to the questions, right? Just ask the right questions.
Yeah.
And don't worry about asking the questions, just ask.
Yeah, just absolutely. That's the thing about communicating with the spirit world. It's the sort of idea that you have to sort of, use certain language and
that's the dogma. It comes from the dogma, like of the type. You have to have a specific kind of prayer, and you have to do it a certain way. And
no, you just got to just talk to them. It's like don't make it. Well, it is a human thing, to make things more complicated than they are.
Totally.
Want to codify it, or I don't know. Kind of create a sort of ritual protocol. Yeah. I mean, it's like, with hands-on healing, that's just something, that's an old soul. Just want to get your hands on somebody. You don't need to, think about all the complexities and, you're using to put your hands too close, or you're doing this. Really, it's the spirit world is, endlessly supportive. They're not going to go, well, we're not going to help you because you didn't ask that question right.
Right, exactly.
It's like
you didn't turn around to the left.
Go exactly. Go back and turn around and circle 3 times. Yeah.
That's
so
funny.
I like for example, people will say, well, if like with an affirmation, oh, you shouldn't use a negative thing because the soul will just pick up on the negative word. If you say you're looking for a soulmate, they got to be addiction free. People say, well, if you got the word addiction in there, the soul will hear that and draw in somebody with addiction. No, the soul is not that daft. Neither is the spirit guides. They can interpret. They've got some idea of. That's another thing. I mean,
and they can feel your essence, right? They can feel your intention and what you're asking.
That's it. The intention they're aware of, right? Absolutely. So So I mean, if maybe it's not the most eloquent request or whatever, it doesn't generally matter. I was taught by the spirit guides when I first started working with them to be very pedantic, but it was more to teach me that to couch questions the right way and so on, and not be ambiguous. But when it comes to just general communication with the spirit world, it's more conversational. It's more, and that sort of ritual and stuff just doesn't matter. With some caveats, I would say it's good to have a regular meeting place with your spirit guides, or a time as well. And it doesn't have to be by the clock. It doesn't have to be at 7:35 every night. We'll talk to the guides. It could be an hour before bedtime, I'll have a conversation or something, sit down and do a little bit of meditation. That's actually a really good thing, sort of like an hour before bedtime can be a really good
Hmm.
time to sort of start calming you down a little bit through some meditation.
Yeah.
And yeah, just gets into that. So, just get
Helps you
into it
sleep
like a
better
regular.
too.
Yeah, it helps you
Yeah.
sleep. Oh, yeah, totally.
That's
Yeah.
great. So, yeah, so I'm going to put your link on also for the art because you guys got to check out his art. It's so good. I really feel like you channel a lot with that. And
Yeah.
I could feel, you could almost feel the aliveness and you can feel the spirit through the paintings, which I think is amazing. And,
Thank you. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so people can actually, they can actually schedule with you. It's just that you have a lot, you have a long wait list, but he's
Right.
incredible. If you can just
Thank you.
schedule it, forget about it, it'll come up in the future.
Right. It'll
And
come up
yeah,
soon enough. Yeah. And sometimes, we do get cancellations as well.
right.
So yeah. Yeah.
And so how can people find you?
Oh, they can find me at AinslieMacLeod.com or soulworld.com. And a couple of things that might be of interest. We have a membership program. We just open it a couple of times a year. We just closed it. So it'll be opening back up in January, but you could get on the waiting list and we'll let you know then. The membership is, we have classes, Q&As, regressions, which would be useful. Daily messages from the spirit guides, support group, a forum, really active forum. It's an amazing place. And this is really for old souls who need community to come together. It's like,
Yeah.
really big part of why we created it. So I do this with my wife, Christine, and and it's just heartwarming. I mean, it's loving, beautiful old souls, just feeling that they're with their people, so
Yeah.
do check that out. We also, she and I do just a half-hour broadcast every Sunday, Soul World Sunday, we call it. And this is just like a simple sermon and a guided meditation, but we do that every Sunday. So, and that's free.
Hmm.
So
And where can they find that on your website?
that'll be on the website. Yeah, it's
Uh-huh.
soulworld.com.
Awesome. Well, Ainsley, it's always a pleasure talking to you. I've
Oh my
gotten the
gosh.
pleasure to speaking to you a couple of times, and it was so much fun every single time. So
Well,
thank you so much.
back at you. It's just a pleasure, and thank you. So great questions, and yeah, really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
My absolute pleasure.